for these two groups, we have the b and the v. Now, in standard Spanish, that v sound just never exists, right? This fricative v, the voiced fricative v sound. They're spelled in Spanish as b and a v, like the b and the b, but in standard Spanish, this never exists. So the v sound just never exists. They're both b, or like a little b sound, b, like a slider b, b. But in Philippine Spanish, they're both pronounced as b, which is interesting because this came from again, influence from local languages that don't even have the soft b sound, but they only have the hard b sound. So with that in mind, the b sound is used for all of the b's and the v's that are spelled, right? There's be and there's ube, the two letters in Spanish. They make similar sounds, but different sounds depending on the position in standard Spanish. Now, in Philippine Spanish, these two sounds are the same, ba and ba. Observe, vocabulario, boca, baca, pabo, right? They're all the same sounds. So, in standard Spanish, though, the V and the B will make different sounds depending on the position they are at the word. So, vocabulario, boca, vaca, pavo, right? It's more softer. Instead of pavo, it's pavo, right? It's softer. It's a softer B. Pavo. Pabo. In standards, in Philippine Spanish, pabo, and in standard Spanish, pavo, right? There's a b and a b. It's a smaller, slighter, softer B sound. But again, in Philippine Spanish, right, in the dialect, the Filipino dialect, this is all the same, right? So you pronounce it all the same, and the V doesn't exist. You will never hear v. You'll never hear that. And on this part, we have two other phonemes, the f and the p sound, right? There's a fricative and there's a stop, bilabial, voiceless bilabial stop. So we have this f fricative and the voiceless bilabial stop p. Now this fricative, the f or efe, right? This f can sometimes either be pronounced as a f or a p, and the p comes from, again, influence from local languages, because local languages, they don't have this f sound, right? This f sound, they only have this p sound, which is an approximated sound. And that's why many people have a hard time when they're learning Spanish. They have a hard time pronouncing this f, the f, because it doesn't exist in their phonology. They never grew up learning it. They never grew up hearing it. So their brain never developed to accustom it in their phonology. Now, from time to time, you'll hear this f being pronounced as an f or a p, and that's why I put the asterisk, because sometimes people, or sometimes Philippine Spanish speakers, will have that mistake of pronouncing this f as a p, right? Compared to the standard dialect, where the f is an f and the p is the p. Regardless where their positions are, they're always going to be pronounced as such. Now, it depends again in Philippine Spanish, right? It'll just come and go. It comes and goes, right? So sometimes familia is pronounced as familia, right? Telefono, right? Telefono is pronounced as telepono. Fiesta is pronounced as fiesta sometimes, and confianza is pronounced as confianza sometimes, right? That f and the p, it comes and goes. But most of the times this p doesn't go. Like, it doesn't appear most of the times. It just appears at sometimes, right? It comes and goes. You won't hear it often, but it'll be there sometimes, is the situation for this FP not merger, but diversion. But again, if you are learning Spanish, it's best to keep the F as an F and the P as a P, right? So familia, teléfono, fiesta, confianza, right? And that's just something just to keep in mind with Philippine Spanish and standard Spanish.